I'm a presidential ambassador and a major in ecosystem science and sustainability, as well as international studies here at CSU.
And I'm Thanie Dixon. I'm also a presidential ambassador, and I'm studying fish, wildlife, and conservation biology. And we're here today with Dr. Julie Cloxton and Sydney Jackson Cloxton. Thank you for being here today, Julie and Sydney.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We are so happy you are both here, and this career connection session continues with our series of live interviews that we are producing for alumni and friends of the university in various fields. We hope that our students and alumni are able to use these informational interviews as learning tools for when they are deciding on their desired career path or when learning about a new skill or industry. If you are interested in connecting for further mentorship after today's interview, we will have avenues to do so.
All right, so Julie and Sydney, would you both share with our alumni and our students a little bit about your academic journey and a little bit about your pathway to where you are now, how you got there?
Yeah, I'm happy to go first. So I attended CSU in 2010, and I really wanted to be an event coordinator. I wanted to work in travel. I loved learning about different cultures and different people, and I just wasn't quite sure what to do at the time. There wasn't an event planning even course available. I know that's changed. And tourism, after going through and seeing what 9/11 did to the tourism industry, I was like, I'm not sure if that even makes sense for me financially. So I was confused. I was like, I don't know what to do. And at the time I lived in what was called Global Village. It was in Braden Hall. And we had international students that lived with us, and we had, a course we had to take together. And one of the counselors that was in this course that we were all taking together, she was actually a career coach. And she was like, you really should check out natural resources, recreation, and tourism. Like, that sounds like it could be a really interesting fit for you instead of just focusing only on business. And so I checked it out, and I got really excited because even though I have a minor in business, I was like, oh, cool. Like, I'm learning about things I would have never learned about in natural resources. I love the fact that I was still getting some hospitality education, but it wasn't just solely focused on hospitality. I was also looking at like outfitters and what's going on with sustainability and travel and that kind of thing. So it was really exciting. And I learned some things I was like, I never thought I'd be in a forestry class before in my life. So I got some education that I wasn't even expecting, that even to this day, I'm like, I'll go and hike and I'll be like, I know what kind of tree that is. And I know all this background. So that was cool. And then I decided to go ahead and go right into my master's because I was like, well, I'm here. I have the momentum. I didn't want life to get to me. I was like, I'm just going to do my master's. And so I did the 1-year master's program, also offered with Warner, on the tourism management program, the MTM program. And that was awesome too. So it was a great fit for what I was looking to do. And so that's my career path, or my educational path.
Hi, so I'm Dr. Julie Cloxton. I'm actually Sydney's mother, and I apologize about my video. You probably saw it glitching out a little bit there. I was trying to be a cute CSU background. But just wanted to say I'm very grateful to have been asked to be here. I actually have 3 children at CSU, and Sydney chose an amazing career path. My 2 other children are in different areas, but I'm a social worker. And so I think social work is an amazing career path. I didn't start out as a social worker. I started out in the human service profession, and also I've done a ton of trades. So I've been everything from in cosmetology to a licensed real estate broker. And in everything I did, I really infused social work and human services. And so I decided, after working with individuals who are diagnosed with developmental and intellectual disabilities for many, many years, that I wanted to go back to school and get the education that I felt was necessary. So I went back to school and got my BSW. And then I, like Sydney, continued on and went straight into my MSW program. And then I continued on and went straight into my doctoral program, which I have completed. And so that's kind of been my journey. I'm an older student, I'm a non-traditional student. And so for me, that plan really worked best. But I also encouraged Sydney, as I have my other children, to, because we're a family that's very education centered, to go further with their educations. And so I'm really very proud of them for attending CSU. I'm very proud of CSU, and proud that they decided to continue their graduate degrees at CSU.
Thank you both for those answers. Dr. Clarkson, we just heard a little bit about this from you, but Sydney as well. Once you graduated, what did your journey look like to get to your current job?
It's funny. So you graduate and you're kind of like, now what? I'm going to be very honest. I know this is an interview for students that are looking to graduate and might be wanting to go in the field. I graduated and I struggled to find a job for about 4 months. And it was a really mentally depressing time, because I had went from being in this college environment where I was with my friends. You know, I had all these activities that I could go do. I could go to the gym, I could go to the Ramskeller, you know, and I was really involved on campus heavily. And then that just stopped. And so, and then I didn't have a job lined up. So I always encourage people to start thinking about it a little bit earlier, you know, really get connected with, you know, the alumni program, with the Career Center, and to start thinking ahead of time, not just waiting for, you know, a career fair, which I know CSU does. I don't know if they're doing them virtually now or not, but to really be proactive. When I did finally find a job, it was really cool. I went on to do event coordination at the Grand Lake Lodge in Grand Lake, Colorado. And I lived there for a season until, you know, it started snowing. And then I ended up actually going into hotels, but because of my degree and my background, I actually went straight into management. And I was a catering sales manager there. And after gaining a lot of experience there and working on an amazing team, I just wanted, I like to grow and learn. And I kind of hit a wall where there was like nothing else for me to learn. Even though I was really happy with where I was working and the clients were happy with me and I was doing well, I was like, I'm really thirsty for more. And so I decided to move on to another career position where I worked for a corporate chain regionally doing their trainings. So scheduling all of their trainings, you know, doing a lot of logistics work, working on sometimes you just get thrown into things. I was managing like their accounting process and doing their QuickBooks. And you know, after a while, things like that, where I was like, I am not meant to be doing this. This is driving me crazy. I do not like this specific piece. I'm leaving. I was like, I'm going to start my own business. So I actually started my own travel advisory business, travel agency last year. And I'm so happy I had all of those experiences, even the ones I didn't like the QuickBooks, for instance, because as a business owner, you have to figure out how to manage your own books. You know, like there are things that you don't like necessarily doing all the time that someone has to get them done. So I had my own travel agency, and then, and I can talk about this a little bit more later, but I am very proactive in business, and I was keeping up on industry news and saw last October that COVID was coming. And that's when I got into action and put together a plan to pivot. And what did that even mean? What did that look like? What was plan A, B, C? Like, what can I do? And then I ended up switching to coaching. So now I'm a coach and I work with individuals and businesses. And I also still do some virtual event planning to help people with virtual events.
Awesome. That sounds like a super interesting and fulfilling career path for sure.
Yeah, it's a wild ride.
Yeah, sounds like you're having a good time though. Dr. Cloxton, if we ask you too, so with your redirect back to get to go into further schooling, do you feel like that just better equipped you for the job you held before that, or has that launched you into a different career path?
So it actually better prepared me for the work that I was already doing. I am what I call a solopreneur. So I pretty much work alone. But I work with interdisciplinary teams. And because social work is very much a leadership oriented type of degree, you really gain a lot of skills in working with teams of people as well. And there are various systems, so not just the individual, but the middle level system, which we call the meso system, and then the larger systems, policies and procedures and things like that are your macro systems. And so it really helped me to learn how to bring direct practice and micro to the other levels and vice versa. One of the things that it did was it opened many opportunities for me. I love working with students, and so it has opened opportunities for me to be a field director, where I'm able to work with students who are in school for either their undergrad or graduate degree, and I'm able to supervise them as they go on their path towards becoming a graduate. I've also been able to work with individuals who have graduated and are working towards licensure. So it's been helpful in that respect. And also I've been able to have opportunities and doors open to me that I didn't even think of when I was going through school. People, have trained me in certain areas. I've worked with psychologists to train on how to do competency-based parent assessments, specifically for parents who are diagnosed with developmental and intellectual disabilities. Through my research and writing my dissertation, I learned a wealth of information about the populations that I serve, and also how there's an intersectionality between those populations and other areas of systems and policies and procedures. So I would say that it prepared me for what I was currently doing. It helped to propel me as well. Now I'm currently the president of our largest social work organization, the National Associations of Social Workers, the Colorado chapter. So I'm the president of that organization, and it has afforded me the opportunity to learn from other colleagues, from students, and also to give back things that I have learned as well.
Awesome. It's good to hear. So branching off, we can go down the advice path a little more. Allie, if you have any questions in that realm you want to bring up.
Yes, I did have one in particular. Is there anything that either of you would have done differently knowing what you know now with regards to education, career, life?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm a planner. If you haven't picked up on that by now, I like logistics. And, with age and as I've been working on myself and doing that in preparation to be the best coach I can for other people, I've learned that life just happens. And sometimes, you might have the best intentions or the best plan, but it doesn't always work out, and that's okay. So that's something I wish I would have known earlier in life, is that, things can change. Your major can switch, or, you had big plans to do that something and it just didn't happen that way, and that's okay. And to be more accepting of that. So that's one piece of advice that I would have told myself if I could hop in a time machine.
Yeah, I think for myself, I actually started my undergrad the same year that Sydney graduated from high school. And so I'm, like I said, not a traditional student. And so I would like to tell people that we're all on our own individual paths. That's really important because sometimes we look at what someone else is doing or what someone else's trajectory is, and we judge ourselves based off of that. And it can cause us a great deal of anxiety or even depression, being concerned about not being at the same spot somebody else is on their path, but that's their path. And so for me, I feel like if a person goes from undergrad into their graduate program and they say, you know what, I need to take a semester off, that's okay. For somebody else, they may say, you know what, I don't want to take a semester off. I want to go straight into it. That's okay. Knowing that at the end of the journey, everything will work out for you. Like there will be ups and downs no matter what career path you take, no matter what your background is, there will be these ups and downs. And sometimes you will be on a down slope and you will think, oh, I should have, or if I would have done this or that. But I just want people to know that you can always change your trajectory. Like, I originally went to school 25 years ago and got a degree in early childhood education and management. And so it's okay to decide later on, this degree or this training is better suited for me, and to switch that and to pivot. Similar to what Sydney said, being able to go through change is a very helpful thing. And not being too hard on yourself is also something. I work with students. I started a support group for students in my doctoral program. And when you're at that level, you can all start out at the same time, but not everybody ends up in the same spot at the same time. And so having to encourage and repeatedly remind people that you're on your own path and you just really need to keep eyes on that rather than looking at what someone else is doing is important. Also, I would like students to know that it's very important to learn communication with professors and with advisors early on, because that then it positions you so you're not such a cold call. Like if you need to reach out to your professor, you're not hesitant. Or if you need to reach out to your advisor, you're not hesitant because you've already sort of had an icebreaker. You've talked to them, you've met them when there's nothing tense going on. And so it just makes it easier, in my opinion. And then having a mentor post-graduation is something that I think everybody should have. Having some sort of mentor or mentors that are in the line of work that they're interested in. I think that's important as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's really relevant advice for people from many different areas of life. So kind of on that same thought, is there any encouragement you would like to offer our students and alumni as they pursue their careers or as they pursue their education, maybe particularly in this pandemic time, from things you've experienced personally?
Yeah, something that I would tell folks is try to figure out, especially if you're looking, I know as a millennial, right? Like folks in my generation are all about making an impact and making a difference through the work they're doing. And so, but also balancing that with the reality of, hey, I need to feed myself and take showers and different things like that. So if you're not finding that necessarily in your position that you're in, really get out into your community and, make a difference in the world that you're around and what your world is. Volunteer. Also, think of ways that you can apply skill sets that you have and that you've learned during college that could apply to other jobs. For instance, a lot of people are like, how did you go from being a travel agent to a coach? Like they don't see that connection. And for me, I became a travel agent because I was very interested in transforming lives. And I love sustainability. I got that from being a part of the Warner College is my love and knowledge of sustainability. So I was like, anything I do in life, that's what I want to incorporate into what I'm doing. So being a coach, now I get to transform lives in a different way, right? I'm doing it more with an individual or with a company. Before, with my travel company, I was doing sustainable travel. So helping people think about what's the triple bottom line, what's not just their environmental impact, how are they impacting different cultures when they visit a place, and also where's their money going? Who is it really supporting in that place? And that could be international or domestic. So for me, it's all about how to make the triple bottom line work in coaching. So for instance, I have a program called Planting Seeds, where for every client I work with, I actually donate in their name a tree towards reforestation. So there's different things that you could do. Like I'm a board member for what's called Guided by Humanity, which is a yoga studio for folks with cognitive and intellectual disabilities. And then they also work with the community just in general. I mentor high schoolers after school. So there's other ways that I can be sustainable in whatever I'm doing in my business, even if it's not necessarily in natural resources, So I think that's really important, is just to think outside of the box. Like my mom said, find a mentor that can help support you, take care of your mental health. Right now we have a lot going on. So the list could go on and on, but I think it's really important to know that it's okay to just kind of think outside the box and be proactive. Like I said, I got really fortunate because in travel, I made sure to always keep up on what's trendy, what's happening internationally, what's happening domestically. And I got the red flag, like I said, in October of last year, that COVID was in China. And I made the decision, well, I don't have a lot of folks traveling to Asia, so I'm good. But then in November, Italy got hit really hard last year. And I was like, oh, but I have people in it going to Italy in the next year. So what am I going to do? So I made a short-term plan and then a long-term plan. I kept myself educated. Another university in Florida was doing a free hospitality refresher course. So all the folks that got laid off due to COVID or whatnot were able to take a free class. And I did that to refresh myself. I took a couple of other courses. I just kept myself current. So things will turn around eventually, or change, or we'll have a new normal, or whatever you want to call it. It's just going to take some time to get there. And so I want to be prepared and ready for when we do get to that point.
Okay. So I think the question was, is there any encouragement or advice? Am I correct about that? Yes. So I might hit on some of the points Sydney did. I'm a mental health normalizer. All human beings and all animals have mental health. It's the same as having physical health, and for people who have spiritual health, right? And so I believe that it can be up, it can be balanced, or it can be down. The first thing we need to be doing is taking care of our mental health and making sure that it's okay that we acknowledge if we're having a bad day or bad week or whatever, but that we're not staying there and allowing ourselves to stay in depression. And knowing that it's okay, and that this is a different time for most of us. There aren't too many people who have been in a pandemic before. And for some of us, we're in a double pandemic if we're talking about including race relations and things like that. And so some people have a magnitude of outside forces, including some personal things as well that might be causing them to have a lot of stress and strain. And then they're looking at, I graduated, I'm trying to get my career started. What should I be doing? So being open-minded is the first thing I tell people. No matter what you do, you will learn from it. And allowing yourself to not like something. So for example, if you get into a position or a job that you don't like, be honest with yourself. That's okay. Don't stay there and feel like you're in a box, because that will just create resentment about having gone to school for all that time, resentment about the job, resentment about many things. Start making a plan to pivot yourself or to redirect yourself out of that and into something else. So for example, with social work, social workers are everywhere. We do all sorts of jobs. I have colleagues who are in hospitals. I have colleagues who are therapists. I have colleagues who work in the judicial system. I have colleagues that work everywhere. And so the beauty of getting a degree, not just in social work, but in any of these areas, there are other types of work that you can do with the degree that you have. You just have to look at it, research it, and figure out, what do I want to try next? And don't be afraid to go for it. And right now, a lot of things are virtual. And so that can be hard because, you know, some of us were used to virtual, but some of us are getting a bit fatigued from it. Trying to set your schedule so that you have breaks in between that is an advice that I would give people during this time, making sure that you're doing good self-care, no matter what your career is, no matter what job you're looking for. I think that's really important. And knowing that it's okay if things have to change. So, you know, a lot of students that I work with, they were more of wanting to be in person, but they've had to go from in person to virtual. And in a small amount of time, it almost seemed to have happened overnight for a lot of them. And that's the same thing with some people in their workplace. They went to work one day and the next day they weren't able to go to work. But we're learning how to become resourceful. Technology is keeping up and getting better in that area. And so just remembering that we're in change right now, but it doesn't mean we're stuck. And so if we can do that little bit of psychology with ourselves, that we're not stuck, that we will get through this, I think that would be one big piece of advice I would give to someone, especially for someone who may be struggling to find a good career fit for them right now. And that's one reason why I think it's really important to stay in contact with past professors. Like, don't just leave school, don't just graduate and not ever talk to your professors before. These are now going to be colleagues. So you want to stay in contact with them. You want to also join, if you can, community participatory action research. If there's research going on, or if there's volunteer activities you can do, get involved. And that will help you network with other people. You never know who knows somebody that can help you find a job or get into a position that you didn't think that you would get into. So that would be some advice I'd give.
Thank you both. What you've said really resonated with me, I think, especially in this time right now, and then in general as well. And we did have a question in the chat that I wanted to make sure. Do you have any advice on how to find a mentor?
You want to go, Sydney, or? Oh,
Um,
I can, yeah. So for me, one of the things that I did was I stayed in contact even with my professors from my BSW program. And as I was moving along my educational career, I would just reach back and say, hey, you know, I remember when you taught me this or that. Thank you so much. Do you have any suggestions for what I'm doing now? Like, do you have any thoughts on that? Do you know of any research that might be helpful to help me gain some better insight? And so I would reach back to even people who I hadn't been in class with for several years. But coming right out and asking a person, you know, that's further along than you, or that's in an area you want to be in, are you willing? Can you mentor me? I really want to learn this, or I really want to learn more about this. Are you willing for me to be a mentor or a mentee, and for you to mentor me is the first way. A lot of people are willing to help and to share if someone would simply ask. And then also be willing to give back. So don't just be a taker. Like, if they're going to help you and they're going to mentor you, find out what programs are they involved in. How can you get involved and volunteer for that program? Maybe it's once a month you volunteer for something that's important to them. networking. So finding different people who are further along than you and attending networking events. I know now a lot of them are virtual, but getting on listservs within the type of work that you want to do. And so listservs are usually like email lists based on career or a particular trajectory that you have for a career. Getting on there and saying, you know, my name is such and such. I graduated with this degree, or I'm going to be graduating with this degree soon. And I'm really looking for a mentor. Is there anybody who would be willing to mentor me or just meet with me and help me with some questions that I have? So asking is the first thing. We have to get over being afraid to ask people to help us.
I agree with everything Julie said. Only thing I have to add is you need to also think to yourself and maybe reflect a little bit on, are you a good mentee? Because when you get mentoring, it's all about getting constructive criticism from that person and maybe some advice. And you have to be the type of person that's willing to listen to what someone else has to say. That doesn't mean you have to do everything they tell you to do by any means, but just being open to feedback. So I think that's really important. It's just making sure that you are a good fit for being mentored. And Julie gave all the best advice that I would give in regards to reaching out to past professors, even if there's someone in your industry that you kind of look up to, reaching out to them and just saying, hey, can I do a virtual coffee date with you? And you all just sit and have coffee or tea or something, or a virtual lunch. Maybe you could even send them like a $5 Starbucks card or something. I don't know. To follow up with that too, I think it's really important to build good relations and sending an old school thank you note. Asking, hey, can I have your address? I want to send you a thank you note. I know it's hard to find them right now, especially because folks aren't in office. So just saying, I do thank you notes. I want to send this to you. And usually they're taken aback because like no one does thank you notes handwritten anymore. But it only costs you $1. You buy a card and sign it and put a Post-it, stamp on it. So yeah. I think that's really important. And I want to just echo something Julie said, just making sure that you're willing to give back. So if you find someone to mentor you, being open to mentor other people. There's been a few times even on LinkedIn, I've had people who have reached out to me and they're like, I saw you're an alumni. Could I even just talk to you for an hour? And it was a one-time conversation, but they were so grateful because they reached out to like 15, 20 people and no one responded back to them. So even just being willing to say, hey, yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Maybe I can't do it full time and mentor you all the time, but once a month we can meet for 30 minutes and just check in with each other, something like that. So I do echo that part as well.
I also think having an accountability partner is important as well. And so that person can be on the same educational trajectory you are on. Sometimes that's nice because then you have a lot in common to talk about, but they don't necessarily have to be. And so they, as long as they have goals, you guys can meet like weekly. And especially during this time with COVID, it can be really hard and can feel overwhelming because we would think, well, we don't have to go here and we don't have to go there. So there's less to do, but actually there's more to do. At least that's been my experience with COVID. And so having somebody I can just take an hour with on Fridays and meet and say, okay, this was my goal set for the week. What did I get through? Why didn't I make these goals if I had planned them? What can I do different next week? And being very realistic about those goals, but it gives you an expectation that you're going to be meeting with someone. And you can do that with any career path. And it just is another way of helping to keep you on track, or getting a coach, like meeting with them and doing a strategic plan like I've done with Sydney, where she actually would sit down with me and go over like, what are your goals? What are your plans? And then I'm able to take those and go from there with that. So I think finding ways that you can push yourself, even in the middle of this pandemic, is important, because it's not going to stay like this. And you'll want to be ready when things switch over and change again.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for that, guys. All right, so we have some specific questions that folks attending today let us know they were curious about in registration. So while we dive into these, we have 3 of them. We're still inviting additional questions in the chat if you guys think of anything else. So the first one would be, I believe that my dream job revolves around becoming a travel agent, but given the current state of the world, it's been difficult to make any headway. Do you have any advice or suggestions for future steps that I could be taking towards reaching that goal?
Yeah, I feel you. Because I was a travel agent and I still am. I think what it is it's important for you to know that travel has always happened. Even during the pandemic, travel's happening. But as a travel agent, usually, right, the most money is made in groups or with luxury sales. And right now, groups is really tough to do. So it might be something where maybe you just start to educate yourself. And I'm willing to sit down with you too and have a fuller conversation. You're welcome to reach out to me and we could sit down for an hour, hour and a half and talk. But you can start educating yourself on, what type of travel do I want to do? What type of agent would I like to be? Like I said, I decided I wanted to focus on sustainability in travel. And then once we do get to a point where travel has bounced back, you're already decided on what you want to do. You've already started to educate yourself around, the different resources out there for what you're doing. Just walking into being a travel agent is really, really broad. I tried that and it is so broad. There's so many different things you can do. And there's no way that you would be a quality expert in everything because there's just so much. That's what I would suggest, is just really kind of honing it down to what really interests you, and starting to educate yourself around that and getting plugged in. You can get industry news now so that you can keep up with trends and you can see, oh, travel's starting to get popular again. It's starting to uptick again. Maybe it's time for me to shoot my shot and get out there and start finding clients and things like that. And then there's also just joining an agency. There's tons of agencies that are still taking on folks. I see postings for them on like Indeed and different things like that. With the fact that we're virtual now, there's actually more opportunity with like finding something in New York if you're willing to work with a different time zone, or finding something out in California or whatever, even though we're here located in Colorado. So there's options out there. I would just say it's kind of just a waiting game right now, but I know for sure travel is going to bounce back because people want to see things. They want to go do things. And folks are going to be real stir crazy by the end of this.
That is an understatement, and I really hope that for you it also bounces back. But this is one that both of you can answer. This person asked, I would like to know how to make myself more competitive as a candidate to work in the field I'm considering getting a graduate degree in, and it's natural resource management, but my undergrad degree is unrelated. I would hope to get more insight as to the pathways I can take if I do get my master's within this field. It's a vast field and they're a bit overwhelmed, so any direction or advice is appreciated.
That kind of goes back, I think, to the mentoring aspect as well. Maybe connecting with some of the professors in the master's program that you're going into, and just kind of sitting down with them. And I know each college, like Warner, has its own. There's a career center for CSU, but then there's like specific career folks for each college. So maybe sitting down with that person and just talking about options and what do different things look like in the field that you're going to be looking into. And then also You know, start volunteering too. If you don't have any experiences in natural resource management, they're always looking for people to do seasonal work or volunteer work. So see if that's something you could do to kind of just get your foot in the door and to learn more about the process. Like I know they look for volunteer rangers or whatever. I don't know exactly what you want to go into, but seeing about that kind of stuff, I think would be a really great way to kind of start narrowing down what you're looking to do and also make you competitive. It's all about building. Unfortunately, life is a little bit of nepotism, and it's not always about what you know, but who you know. And so that's why I was saying the mentoring can really come into play. Just starting to volunteer, build those connections, that kind of thing.
One of the things that I would say is, so learning doesn't end with your degree. So you have an undergrad degree in one thing, and then you have a master's degree in something else, and that's great because it enriches. All knowledge is good knowledge. And so never discount the fact that you might have a degree in undergrad in one thing, and then your master's degree is in something totally different. That's totally okay. It will complement in some way, because that's just how life is. It's kind of a hodgepodge of different things. And so what you can do is realizing that when you graduate, that's not the end of it, that's the beginning of it. There are specific trainings that even to this day I take. Like right now, I'm doing specific trainings regarding trauma therapy that they don't teach in school. There is none of this in your degree program at all, in any of the mental health degree programs. And so there are other trainings that I take outside to learn. Like I met, through the research I did, I met psychologists who trained me in a specialized way of forensic social work so that I can then help individuals who are parents diagnosed with developmental and intellectual disabilities. That's not something I could learn in my degree program. That's something that I had to learn outside of it. So being willing, just saying to yourself now, I'm a lifelong learner, will help you tremendously. Not expecting that your degree is the end of it and then you just work and that's it. But being open to professional development is huge. And you might have an expertise that is very much needed in whatever you choose because of that undergrad foundation that you have. That, you know, you never know where that can show up and be very useful. And so don't discount that. Whatever it's in, take the information and extrapolate that and infuse it into what you're doing. Because there's always a way to use the knowledge that we gain at all levels, whether it's a certificate or an associate's or a bachelor's or master's or beyond. So you're going to do fine, just realizing that education never stops, that you will be a continuous lifelong learner.
Yeah, I love the advice I'm hearing, to be well-rounded and think outside the box. I know that's always a good reminder. So thank you for that. All right, the third one we have from registration is, when would you recommend getting an advanced degree, and when is it okay to jump straight into work?
Well, so for me, with my children, with Sydney, and I'm sure she can tell you, I told her, don't come home without your master's.
Legitimately, that's what she said to me.
I'm gonna be real transparent here. I said, look, while we're able to help you now, do it. Go straight for it. Now, that's not for everybody. And sometimes young people feel like I need a break, and that's okay. My second oldest daughter took a semester off, but she's in her last semester of her master's program at CSU now. So it's okay, but she didn't come home. She did some classes and worked and prepared herself for this master's program that she's in. So for me, I think that the sooner you go into one program to the next, the more advantage you have. And I'm going to tell you why. In my doctoral program, I had students who they were stressed. And that was because they had been out of school for 10 years, 20 years, and I hadn't. And they were like, how in the world are you able to do this? How do you know how to work this Blackboard thing? How do you know how to work that? Like, what is this? Like, I've never seen this in my life. And it was because I was able to I was not too far removed from the education piece. Being an older student, I also have worked the whole time I've been in education full time. So for me, I simultaneously worked and educated. Now that's hard for some people, but that's what you do when you're a non-traditional student a lot of times and you have children to take care of. So I think it goes back to, you have to do what's best for you. But I always advise, if you can, go get that education piece, because you can gain that experience simultaneously. You can even gain it after. Now, some people will tell you the reverse. They'll say, no, take time off, 3 to 5 years, get experience, and then go back to school. That would not work for me, because I probably would not have gone back after, especially after my master's, if I had taken off that length of time. And then life also has a way of, it sort of just happens. And so that's why there was a 25-year gap between my first degree and me going back to school for my social work degrees. So I think if I had it to do different, I probably would have done that right away. The other thing is, I was on my own path. As I keep telling people, stay on your own path. It will eventually work out however it's supposed to. And time and age really won't stop you. It's not the deciding factor. It's you deciding what you want to do and what's best for you at any particular point or juncture in your life, and going for it.
Me, I say it just depends on the person and what your career wise, what you're wanting to go in. For instance, I know Julie, Dr. Cloxton, she's in social work, and in order to get higher pay, you have to have a master's, like point blank period, no question about it. So if you're going into something like that, where for sure I want to make more money and I need the education to do it, then, I say go for it. If you're into something, I'm in tourism. A lot of folks don't even have a college degree in tourism, and that's okay. Like Julie said, they're all on different paths. However, I do know from my own personal experience, I was able to kind of jump the line. I'm not going to lie. I was able to go straight from college into a management position, a high paying management position, instead of working my way up the chain, which in, hospitality and tourism, you can easily work your way up the chain. It just takes time. So it was kind of that trade-off of, what do I want? Opportunity cost, right? Do I want to spend more time working my way up? Or do I want to pay now, actual cash for my degree in order to kind of jump ahead and make more? So it's completely up to what your industry is and who you are and what your interests are. Some people don't like to go for their PhD until they know what they're even interested in, or even their master's, because you have to sometimes focus on a specific topic for your dissertation. And so they're just like, I don't even know. I know I want to go. I just don't know what for or what I would present on. So if you don't have a full-on passion yet, then maybe wait. But if no, I just want to get it done. I want to get my master's. I want to get my PhD, and I'm not going to make it back. That was me. Even regardless of what my mom said, whether I could come home or not, I was like, I know that I need my master's personally, and I'm not going to return. I was so over school. I'm not going to lie. I was like, I'm done with this. But I was like, I can do it for one more year. I was in an accelerated program. I was like, I can do it. I'm just going to do it. And to Julie's point, Dr. Clarkson's point, people were like, how do you work full time and you're doing school? They couldn't believe it, because I was with, returning students, older adults. I was one of the youngest people in my master's program. And I'm like, oh, I'm just used to it. Like, this is just how it is. They're like, you still have time to go volunteer and hang out with friends? And I'm like, yeah. So, so yeah, it's all personal, but just consider those factors and what the opportunity costs are.
Mhm.
Well, thank you both. If we don't get any further questions in the chat, I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. We're always thinking of ways to offer relevant career resources to our students and alumni. If you're interested in further accessing career services, please visit alumni.colostate.edu. And I especially want to thank you both, Dr. Cloxton and Sydney. I personally really enjoyed discussing with you both, and we'll be connecting with you in the future, hopefully. I hope you will consider joining us every other Monday for more career connections and further CSU Alumni Association members. Thank you all. Thank you for your membership. It makes events like this possible. And if you would like to learn more about membership or connect through additional engagement opportunities after today, please visit the aforementioned email and go Rams.
Go Rams.
Go
Thank
Rams.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.